Hey guys, how's it going? It's John from the Machine Shop. Today I'm going to show you how we are going to fix the joystick on an Xbox One controller. You ready? Let's go. Okay, so first things first is I'm just going to give you a quick demo on my Xbox to show you what we're talking about. Right, so I'm not going to walk into that fire. Look, I'm not pressing, if I move backwards, it's okay. Forwards, let's see, I'm not pressing the button, but it's rolling forwards. So that's because that joystick is broken, so we need to replace that joystick. Okay, so what we're going to need to do this. So obviously you're going to need your broken Xbox controller. What you can get hold of are these kits here. So what this is a kit that you can buy on eBay. It's actually got the two joysticks in there if you needed to replace both. It's got some new thumb pads, two screwdrivers and a priving tool. I'm not going to use the screwdrivers, instead I've got my screwdriver repair kit. Probably going to need a pair of pliers or tweezers. You're going to need some solder, and you're going to need some solder wick that's going to help you desolder the old joystick, and you're going to need a soldering iron. Okay, so if you've got one of these kits, then you're going to need, let's have a look, see what we got in here. Inside of here is the priving tool. There's two screwdrivers. One is a T6, the other one is a T8. And then inside this kit we've also got the two new joysticks and we've got two new pads. So first things first, we're going to need to tear this thing down. So get your priving tool, or if you've got a plectrum for a guitar, that works really well as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to remove the two side panels here first on the Xbox controller. If you get your priving tool and run it down the edge, it will start to basically pop off. That thing it's just snapped in place. So you can get your priving tool and you can literally just push it in and then run it all the way around, and it should, if it helps, use something to keep one of the edges up. So I've got one of these plectrums, so I'm going to put that underneath that edge there. Then I'm going to use the priving tool to run down the other edge, and there we go. So one side panel off. Right, let's put that there. Okay, and then get the other side off. So again, run it down both sides, and that's the other side off. So next we need to take the battery compartment. So take the door off, batteries out, remove this sticker, I'm going to stick that to the door. So once you've got the door compartment off, there are 5 screws. You've got one down here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. And that's with a T8 screw bit head. So we're going to remove those. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once you've got all 5 screws out, what you'll find, if you turn it over, is now the front cover will simply fall off. Basically, we're wanting to replace this joystick here. So what we're going to do at the same time is actually just replace these pads. So I'm going to take these off. These just simply pull off, and you can see the joysticks underneath. So now what we need to do is remove the back cover, which simply again just pulls off. Be careful because there's the battery connections and things, you don't want to break any of those. Okay, so this is the internals of the Xbox One controller. You've got the 2 rumble motors, you've got the shoulder pads, you've got the shoulder buttons, and then there's all the different circuitry underneath for the wireless area and all the different other buttons and keypads and things, the little battery terminals. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to remove the wires for the rumble motors. Okay, so here we've got the rumble motor. So what we are going to remove are these 2 wires here. So the best way I found of removing things, it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but if you get your soldering iron tip, if you put a little ball of solder on the end, and then move the wires out of the way. So that's those 2 removed. So now that rumble motor will just fall out of there. So turn this around, and again want to remove the 2 wires there for that rumble motor. So again, got my soldering iron tip. I'm going to put a little ball of solder on it. That just helps it flow. And then I'm going to put that on there, and the wire should just fall off like that. And again for the black wire, there we go, and then that one should just fall out as well. Perfect. So once you've got the rumble motors removed, there are two wires here. There's a black and a grey wire. They go to the little buttons on here, which are for the shoulder switches. You can probably just about see, actually. See, just about in there is that little button. So this shoulder pad is connected to that little button, so when you press that, you just about see it moving there. That's how the shoulder clickers work. Okay, that one and the grey one. There we go. Now what we need to do is we need to remove this PCB layer, which there are two. You can just about see in there. There is one screw there, and then on the other side there is one screw here. They are T6 screws. Now these two boards, they're connectors holding the two boards together, so this board should just come out like that. So a little bit of pressure, pull it out, and then that should come out of that one. So yeah, we want to replace this joystick here. Now it's going to sound quite counterintuitive. The way in which we're going to do this is we're actually going to add solder to these pads. Okay, so grab your soldering iron. I want to replace the through hole pads that you've got here. Be careful, because there are some other little tiny, let me see if I can just see them. So yeah, be careful, because there are some other tiny little capacitors here, and there's a 3-pin device here. We don't really, there's one capacitor there, some little resistors up here. We don't want to touch them with a soldering iron tip, so we want to do that pad, that pad, that pad, that pad, these four here, 3 and 3, and then that will release the joystick. Now don't worry if you get in a situation like that where that's bridged, that doesn't matter because they're all coming off anyway. Okay, so once you've got a generous amount of solder on the pads, what you can then do is you can use your solder wick. So what we're going to do is basically push the solder wick onto the solder joint, and what it'll do is it'll suck the solder up the joint. So let's try it on this one here. Just be careful about where the wick is, because if it's touching any other components it will just drag them off. So solder joint there with the wick, and you can see it's being sucked up the wick. So just leave it on there, and then when you take it off, it's taking away some of the solder. So we're going to get rid of the majority of this solder that's on here. So you can see there that those three pads have barely got any solder on them now. So the actual adding solder to it and then wicking it up with the wick has meant that we've ended up with less solder. Easy peasy. Let's just go around all the other pads, being very careful about those surface mount devices around the outside. So that's all the solder removed from our pads. Now what we've got to do is just kind of prise the joystick out. One way you can do that is sort of pushing on the pin with the soldering iron, because what it'll do is it'll just grab any extra residue. In fact, it's just falling out, so that's quite good. Any residue solder which is still there, you can just sort of push it out. To be fair, you can just see that's just falling out. There we go. There we are. That's one joystick removed. Because of the way that we removed the solder, the pads have actually come out pretty darn clean. So what we do is simply push the new one back in. So turn it over, line it up with all the holes. So that's now the joystick, new joystick reinstalled. Now we're just going to solder it in place. Okay, there we go. That's all the solder pads done. Okay, so that's the new joystick installed. All looks very good. Everything seems to be okay. And the click button sounds good. Great. So now we're just going to put it all back together. So, let's bring over our back end here. This. And you should be able to feel the little connectors underneath, and then that just pushes back down with a nice satisfying click. There we go. So that's back down. That all looks good. Yeah, lovely. So now we have the T6 screwdriver with the two little screws. Now we need to reattach these wires. So remember, the black wires go on the outside. So once you've got those wires back on, we're now going to grab our two rumble motors. Remember that the big one goes on the right hand side and the little one goes on the left. Okay, now we can put it all back together. So let's put the back cover on, and very carefully also watch out for the two battery terminals here. You don't want to get them on the wrong side. They actually go on the inside of the battery pack, like that. It might also help sometimes if you push the little shoulder pads in whilst you're doing it, because they'll get in the way. That's all the way down. Again, remember to hold those rumble motors in there so they don't fall out. Right, so now we're going to add the new thumb pads. So you've got one on there. There we go. And one on there. Grand. And I'm holding in the back cover just so that doesn't fall off the back. We're then also going to fit the front cover. Like so. Make sure the buttons. Yep. Now we're going to add those 5 screws again that we took out earlier. Those are the T8s, so I'm going to swap my T6 to a T8 and put those 5 screws back in. Don't worry about trying to do them up any too tight, just so that you can feel them give a strong bite is perfectly fine. Number 5. Okay, so now let's put our little sticker back on. Lovely jubbly. I'm not going to put the battery back in yet, I'm going to put the side covers on. They again just snap into place. Like that. Batteries in the right way around. Way and that way. And then finally the back door cover on. And there we go. All ready and built. All working. Fabulous. Let's go and test it on the Xbox. Okay, so here we are back on the Xbox, and as you can see now, the controls don't just move forward on their own. Success. So there we are. That is how you fix the joystick on an Xbox One controller. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see anything else, or maybe you've got some other problems with your Xbox One controller. Let me know and I'll see what I can do to fix them. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye!